Here we are with another session of Justice Then, Justice Now. Across from me is Jeff Thomas, the producer, and the man of the hour is Ruben Gonzalez, who I've known since 1989. Ruben's in Panama City, Panama, and I'll let him tell you what his current job is. I think everybody will be interested in this session because there was a hit movie last year about the subject and that. And prior to that, Ruben was an accomplished senior special agent with U.S. Customs. He was with what's now CBP, and also with HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. He's been assigned to the Miami office and also finished out his career in Houston, Texas. Had a very diverse career with a bunch of different cases, done multiple undercover operations, so that should be a hint about what he's going to talk about. And this subject is a very sensitive subject for anybody in the law enforcement industry. It takes a special quality of person's character to do such. And when he explains it to you, I know you're going to be interested in what he's doing to make the world a better place for families. Ruben, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise, my friend, likewise.
Yeah, again, thanks for coming on, Ruben. So, real quick, I kind of like to open this up by just asking you like a couple background questions, like where you're from, where you grew up, how your childhood was like, what your parents were like, and kind of foreshadowed maybe into why you're at where you're at today.
Simple. I'm a Heathen. I'm born and raised in Wisconsin. My dad settled out in Milwaukee, and early childhood was there in Wisconsin. So grew up with the people say there's Midwestern values, like West. When my dad retired, well, moved down to Florida. So I finished my school and college down in Florida, and that's where I became exposed to law enforcement. I am of Puerto Rican descent. My parents are Puerto Rican, and we, a whole family, tight knit, Latin Hispanic community. Grew up in Miami, pretty much there, high school and college. It was during these early formative years. We made some good friends, law enforcement, people like Toby here, when we met, I think I was probably 16, 17 years old. I was started out my career, and believe it or not, I was one of the first persons hired. I was a Customs Explorer, which is a branch of the Boy Scouts, for like finding careers and so on. So there were two of us that were hired at the same time. I'm in New York, and myself, who were the first one to there after we finished college.
Awesome. And then after college, where'd you go from there?
But, yeah, when I finished school, I got exposed to law enforcement through the Civic Program. And there was a gentleman who ran, I think he was back then, Customs had what we call a patrol division. They actually went patrols and like the water and so on. So I got exposed to the marine environment and to the special agents. This guy was named Greg Rogers. Toby may know him. He's been retired. He exposed me into this program, and I joined Customs after college. And my first posting was with an instructor's job as an instructor in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So I got to go home and live there for about a year and actually get to know family, which we thought that was a plus. But I ended up getting on fever. And I was like, no, I'm going to get up to the States. I want to do action. And at the time, all the action was in Miami. This is the era I'm talking about, 89. We're talking about, the times of, Miami Vice and South Beach and everything. Miami was the hot point at the time for drugs. So I was able to finagle a transfer back to Miami and join a specialized unit that was called the Counterfeit Enforcement Team, CET, or CET. And they were the elites, and they had become like the new patrol division of customs. And we worked in ports and seaports, containers. It was fun. It was fun. I mean, we found It's in places that you could not imagine. And then once we find it, call the special agents who do the investigations and join them in surveillances and car chases down the road or down the turnpike trying to stop people, following containers all the way from Miami to Houston, loads, several thousand pounds of loads. It was a fun time. It was a fun era, and we did a lot of good back then.
Awesome. So so this was like late '80s, early '90s, kind of.
Yes, late 80s, 90s. I worked there. We worked case and moved up to a supervisory level within that division. And then later on, I applied and transferred over as a special agent and started working, conducting investigations. It was it was a different part. That was the part where having worked as an instructor and working the ports, learning the regulations, the compliance systems of shipments of trade, of cargo, concealment methods of contraband, understanding the flow where merchandise is coming from and going to the hub points, maybe so much better, a better investigator to follow leads and think out of the box. My key was thinking out of the box. And the one thing that attracted me the most was the aspect of which we'll get into is the money laundering and the money laundering as it relates to undercover operations. Me being lingual, being able to be Spanish, read it and write it. Um, when I became special agent, I got approached if I wanted to become the cover agent, working in different program areas, whether it's intellectual property, money laundering, narcotics, and undercover work is not cut out for everybody. It's something specific. You have to have a specific mindset. I don't get into like the specifics of everything, but I mean there is a bunch of testing. There's different forms that you have to go through, and they get into the cover work just to say, hey, I was in the cover work. The ego, the pride, but that's not what it's all about. I mean, when you go to the cover work, you have to you don't say it. While you're working undercover, you're not telling your neighbors and your brothers and your sisters or fellow law enforcement, I'm doing undercover work or people in the neighborhood. You keep it quiet. You don't you do not become a brag. I'm doing this not because I'm retired. I've been out, business, but you have to have a specific mindset, and it's a gender, and they'll tell you that if you're this is real, this is real world. This is not pretending to be a cop. This is being real work undercover, where you're putting your life on the line, and it's not like you put in regular age, you put the life on the line every time you put hands in somewhere handcuffs. When you're doing undercover work, you could be working undercover in some remote area if you've been sanctioned and authorized in a foreign country, and your backup cannot may not be there right away. Your backup in a host country could be the ones that sell you out. I mean, there's so many things when you're doing other at risk that it's real. And even people where I remember going to the conference where they said, reality of this, you can die from this. This is no joke. I mean, even if you was something will change within a second, and before you know it, somebody has a gun on you or something or a knife, and before your team gets you to back you up, you could be. So this is think a choice. And people are like, no, I don't filming because they realize when they show the videos and stuff gone wrong, they're going, oh, okay, I'm not ready for this. So yeah, you have to have, um, I want to say a little bit nuts. They want to do it.
Yeah. So, concerning your interest with like money laundering and stuff like that, is undercover work like, is that how you catch most of those money laundering things, or is it like just a bunch of cash rolls up and you're putting the dots together?
No, no, no. There are different ways. There are different avenues. Undercover is just one tool in your toolbox. I mean, you have agents that are doing works, it's accounting work that you follow the source, the intelligence, where the money reports from banks, suspicious activity reports of banks to leads from FinCEN, which is a financial intelligence unit of the U.S. And agents will follow the trail, follow the breadcrumbs, use subpoenas, grand juries, to the banks, the accountants. You interview people. You get warrants for, let's say, books, accountants, information. That's one avenue. But the other avenue is in the cover work where you're able to introduce yourself to launder people's money. I mean, you set up entities or businesses in an undercover capacity, and you yourself provide a service to launder their money. So you're bringing their illicit funds and placing them within some type of financial institution, whether it's a business with bank accounts, or et cetera, and you move the money, cover the money as gains or proceeds of those businesses. So when it comes out on the other side to the bad guy, he can claim it in whatever country he's in, wherever he is. Oh, this is money from such business. So don't it's remember. You covered up its origins through financial businesses. In there, you end up collecting intel and evidence on those individuals. Because now they committed the overt act of hiding the money, which is a crime in itself, and you'll move millions for them. And the good thing is that when you develop a good rapport with a certain organization and they start to trust you, then they start using you as their accountant to pay their bills. Let's for example, you move $1 million for them, they're happy with you. So if you're able to move more money for them, they trust you. Now they say, hey, can you pay $200,000 to Mr. John Smith, Captain so and so? Okay. Can you pay another, $400,000 to, ABC Chemicals in, let's say, Taiwan or somewhere, China? Can you pay so and so? So now you become paying their bills. Now you have started to identify the organization. Oh, John Smith, he's a captain. He runs a ship off the coast of the Caribbean. Interesting. Let's look at that. Oh, ABC Chemicals out of China or Taiwan. Let's look at that. Could be the precursor company that's providing the precursor chemicals to make the narcotics or so on. Oh, so and so. So you start identifying, you develop your trust and become capacity, the network in the organization.
And then those in turn become like referrals for new assignments potentially, right?
Correct. Yeah, those will end up becoming independent investigations, um, sort of what we call like walled off, so you don't get burned as an income.
Gotcha, gotcha. Because at that point you're pretty valuable because people are referring you to other people, and to lose your that
Correct.
status would be devastating to that whole investigation, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct. I had the opportunity to work with some great teams of great undercover guys. The guys that are mentors. They taught me and way better, and they've probably even done more. I know they've done more than me and more riskier. But in the time that I've had, I was able to work into undercover operations in doing money laundering. I was able to work in, believe it or not, we do intellectual, we call IPR, and of course the narcotics and the human smuggling. In narcotics, you're basically offering services, transport services, that for a while in the maritime industry. And you'll set up businesses, like shipping companies, which drivers and everything, they'll go pick up the loads on the border, bring them out. And you can provide the cover load to hide the narcotics in, and you charge them for a fee percentage in money. We move the money for them. In human smuggling, we offer again transportation to bring people across the border for them, and these people and these illegals, immigrants, then become witnesses and so on. They can cooperate. So there are different avenues that you can use undercover in the intellectual property rights arena. I did a lot of the cover work. Mostly, we try to concentrate not on fake merchandise like computers or stuff like or fake Apple phones. We started mostly in health, safety, health and safety. Cases like fake pharmaceutical sales of fake drugs such as heart medicine, cancer medicines, a lot of that stuff that you find on the internet. So I even did undercover work in fake with a good agent, excellent agent out of Houston, fake meds for dogs, and these meds were like for like tick medication for fleas and tick. And it was a huge case. It involved the Great Britain. We worked with Scotland Yard, where it's coming out of India, and it was in the hundreds of millions of dollars to fraud. And the case ended up being where some of this merchandise got into legitimate market, being sold in major brand stores, stuff like that. We had one with cancer medicine, heart medicine, went to India, then we over there in India, and people bring medicines for the heart conditions, and yet the stuff doesn't work, and the stuff that's in it is dangerous itself, and these people are putting it in their bodies, and so we found that that is a big business, especially in the U.S., because with the cost of medicine. So we went in doing a lot of cases undercover work behind these medicines, so we can then lead us to the actual supplier, buy bigger rooms, leading us into more to the factories, so they can show us their operations with big loads and rate us because we become their best partners or their best customers in order then to extradite them to the US. And because a lot of people die from this stuff. We had a case that was with tourniquets. You know those tourniquets that you put on when you're bleeding out, and they were fake. And some of these tourniquets were being supplied to local police departments and different government entities in other countries. And stuff like that. It doesn't sound as sexy as okay, so laundering money for some terrorist group or something. But in that arena, it's important because it's affecting regular people and making a buck out of somebody's misery. But yeah, I got exposed into. I mean, I could get into more specific case, one case in the cover where we were working with licensing stuff that were people making hundreds of millions of dollars selling fake licenses for like Microsoft software, and we were able to get some major distributors. So it doesn't sexy, but they were making hurting the businesses in the hundreds of millions of dollars. But the sexy ones, the excitement with the takedown and guns, that's most of the money laundering in the comics business.
Gotcha. And so how long were you doing that for before you got into what you're doing now?
So I means of law enforcement between inspector and special agent, 35 years. I retired in the end of 2022. I did undercover work from just 10 years. The undercover work, I got exposed back to do some great stuff. The methodology of undercover work, and I won't get into specific on the backstop you and how they give you a different identity and all that. But I was going to, and I'm going to, when I retired, I started looking to see what I could. I was putting my name out there in my resume, and I had a few offers in complaints, like wrong protection, compliance, money laundering, compliance, looking for suspicious activities from a couple banks and so on. But my heart was in it. I just didn't feel it. And then this organization, which is called Operation Underground Railroad, we have some friends that work there who were former agents also got word of me that I was retiring. And they always liked Panama. I worked as here Panama for 5 years as with the Shay's office with Homeland Security Investigations, and I fell in love with Panama. And I call Panama Miami Light. You know how they have like Bud Light or Bud this. I call it Miami Light. It's a good place to live. It's a great place for expats. So I came down. They offered me, "Hey, would you like to come to work for OUR, Operation Underground?" In the at the end of 2022, and I remember I was on a long-term TDY in Guatemala. Long-term, it was almost a year. Long-term TDY, and I cut my TDY short and changed the date of my papers, retirement papers, and retired one day and started working for OUR the next day, literally. And then 3 days later, I was in Honduras doing right away. So OUR came out in the movie The Sound of Freedom. It was very popular in the U.S. Developed by distributed by Angel Studios. The story of an HSI agent who fed up with bureaucracy and quit and started this foundation or this NGO, non-profit NGO, non-government organization, and I ended up working for them. I felt it was God's work. I felt that it was. I took it over offers from the other private sectors, like I mentioned earlier, compliance, uh, because it was right, and I just felt it in my heart, and it's something my whole life. Coming from the Midwest, like I said, I started real estate. I'm originally a cheesehead from Wisconsin. Coming from Wisconsin and Midwestern values and the Latin culture of family and closeness and helping each other and Christian value, Judeo-Christian values of helping your fellow man. So my whole life has been about that. My parents taught me is about giving to others, giving to the community, always do what you can for everyone. So it was ingrained in me. So it was natural for me to accept the job with who you are. And here I am, opened up offices here in Panama in Central America, and we're strictly rescuing exploited sexual trafficking, sexual exploitation, trafficking of women and children. And there's a lot of work to be done here in Central America. You know, right now, presently, it's a two-pronged approach. We help the local law enforcement, the prosecutors in trainings and capacity building and guide them in investigations. And if need be, if we're authorized and need be, we'll bring in retired personnel to go and collect intelligence on the ground, authorized by the host government. We're not topics. We're not doing this out on our own. You know, we don't want to get jammed. And the other part is after the rescue, a lot of these countries don't have the resources to help the children or the women. And the women need attention, psychological trauma, medical attention. We try to empower the women to fulfill their dreams or even help them with careers and growing up so they can become independent and not rely on getting duped by some trafficker, probably seeing a better world. For example, we've had operations in Honduras and locations where we've worked with law enforcement and taken our organizations. I remember one place we did an operation and we were able to get four different organizations to bring girls, like for alleged clients. And well, those girls, like 10 of them were like 40, were minors under the age of 15. And then out of those, two of them um, were pregnant when we took them to the hospitals and did the triage once you rescue them. So it is a today sexual slavery or slavery is more prevalent than ever in the history of humankind. And I wanted to get into this, and we're able to do good here. We're rescuing children. We're running into actual organizations that are organized that we're operating in 40 something countries around the world, everywhere from Thailand and Australia, Middle East, Europe, Africa, South America, and Central America. And it's $150 million operation, yearly, that they profit. It's the third highest revenue gaining illicit activity after narcotics and weapon smuggling. It's number three according to the United Nations numbers. But I've been able to rescue some children here, some women. Women and not only we have this issue with our open borders in the U.S. Though the U.S. says, "Oh, we don't have open borders." Well, right. Don't you know where I stand on that? Just comment alone. The issue here with these women coming across Panama, the Darien Gap, in families, they come looking for a better life, but there are people always taking advantage of the situation of these people that are coming, their families coming across. Now the border here in Panama with Colombia, it's a jungle. I've been down there many times. And I look here, And that place is no joke. I mean, they got beetles bigger than your fist. They got snakes. They got caimans. They're everything. And the heat, the dehydration alone will kill you. And people die on that road. And you have people taking advantage. So this migration that's going on to the US, I call it, to me, it's like American history, Indians, the Trail of Tears, how the Indians were being migrated and moved, and so many Indians died along in the route where they were being relocated in the US. Thousands of people die in these trails, and the organized cartels are taking advantage of the situations. So you have something from smuggling, human smuggling, turns into trafficking within instance, where they grab these people and they tell them, "Yeah, 10 grand will take you to the U.S." They sell everything. They give you, like, say, 4,000 in front. Along the way, they get to Panama and Costa Rica or Honduras and say, "You know what? You owe us another 2,000. Well, you can't give it to us. Guess what? We're going to work for it. Well, you're not. She's going to be working as a prostitute in this club. Your wife's going to be working at a hotel cleaning sheets or whatever. Now you're going to force leave. Now that until you ever come up with those $2,000 plus interest incurred and additional debts that they say that they've incurred. So once you get that paid, then you move on to the next stage in the room. And so from a trip that you're looking for a better life, it turns into a nightmare for some of these people from smuggling into trafficking, and and you never hear from them again sometimes. So we've seen that organized, and women that are also brought into taken from here to Eastern country Europeans and other places with false promises. "Oh, we'll get you a better job. You're going to earn so much money a month." Then next thing you know, they get there and they're saying, no, they take their passports and their documentations and they're working in some club, and they can't get out. And they say, "Well, how people uh, police or go for help?" Well, these traffickers, when they recruit you in these countries, they ask you, like, oh, so it's like a form. "Hey, it's a good journey, nothing can happen, but just in case, is there somebody we can contact, somebody you care, husband, wife, someone that you're dear to?" And they say, "You're so and so." Okay, great. So in the truck, something happened, they put you to work somewhere as a prostitute or forced labor or something, and they'll say, "Listen, if you act up, you run away, you call the police, we have your documents, your passports, but here, who recruited you in that town, he will take a picture of your mother, of your kids, or that relative, and they'll send it to him via WhatsApp or one of these apps, and they'll show it to you. They'll say, you know what? See this? This was 10 minutes ago. If your mother or your family, you behave, shit is going to happen to them." So that's how they keep them in control. So we do a lot of work of this stuff. I'm being detailed about this, but we're doing a lot of good work, and all of this organization is privately funded by donors, and we're doing good. And I'm very proud, and I feel honored to be working with this organization because anything I can do to help save children from this evil, immoral crime with women. For me, it's hopefully God takes a notice and say, "Hey, thank you."
So like when I'm a very much a layperson in this you know experience. I've been to Central America and South America a couple times, but for work, and it's just kind of like when you're there for a couple days, everyone just see you, you're almost the exotic person, and everyone's just kind of going about their day. And then, you hear about the migration from South America to coming through Mexico and in the US, but there's people like that get caught up in, say in Central America, and they don't make it to the US. They get kind of shipped out to Europe and other countries. That happens pretty prevalently or pretty rarely.
Uh, it happens. I would say prevalent, but it more than normal. They will approach them and say, "I can offer you, we can take you to Paris, or we can." I'll give you a specific case. To a local girl, they do it to the migrants that are moving, locals. and they'll tell them, listen, I know it's tough, the economy is bad, you can't find jobs. We have some jobs for you in Europe. We're going to take you. You're going to make about 1,000 to 1,600 euros a month. They'll give them a contract to sign. It's working as waitresses or at some fancy restaurant club, and it's for tourists. The either case, these women were recruited. One of the female recruiters, it was a couple, actually flew with them and flew on, but they flew them into Turkey. In Turkey, they were handed off to a gentleman and drove them to Kosovo. And next thing you know, their passports are taken and they're working at a high-end club, a bar club with VIP prostitution rooms. And so they're working there now. They're like, oh my God. They were able to uh, get a message out, and the organization, we were able to rescue them and bring them back to Panama. We'll pay for their trips, their airfare, and give them assistance here. So you have migrants, let's say coming out of Venezuela or Colombian girls, they get here, they're like, hey, listen, great job for you over here. We'll take you to Europe. Here's your contract. It's a bogus contract, everything else. And they put them to work. So yes, I would say it's prevalent. Where they're just trying to get them life and they don't realize what they're getting into. Sometimes the dangers of these predators that are out there looking for them. I've been to Chile, and in Chile, we have a trend now. There's a game called now El Tren de Aragua. It's moving through in Venezuela. They're moving across through Central America, and they're even now in the U.S. Very violent, very group. So I was in Chile working for a while at a conference and hooked up with the police down there. And I went driving through the cities of downtown. And you have a lot of Venezuelans that have also gone to Chile looking for a better life. And the Tren de Aragua gang members are out the streets looking for young girls. And they're profiling. And what they're doing is they're looking at, okay, here's a 20-something-year-old girl. She looks like she's dressed to go for an interview, and she's walking around with folders in her hand where her resume is at. So that's what they're looking for. And they're, hey, I got this for you, blah, 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 and they promise them, hey, let's have a coffee. Next thing you know, they got their passports, they got them controlled, and they're working on a club or an apartment building where they're controlled and they're being prosecuted. And they didn't cooperate. The girls then have to, for every job that they work, they got to give a percentage. And if they hold anything, well, they don't want, or they refuse, what they do is they shave the girl's head. So everyone in the community and all the friends know that, hey, she's from the thing on, but she didn't do what she had to do to shame them. And the people, and they extort the local businessmen. And also, there's another scam they got going on. And if they don't pay, they give them the leg foot. They shoot them in the leg or the foot, so they're limping. So it puts a message out when the merchant's walking around and he's limping. Yeah, yeah, he didn't do what he had to do. Pay us. So they're like the new MS-13, MS-18 of South America, Central America.
So to do undercover work, are you mainly like going to the places where these people end up, or or do you trying to get them but before they get there en route? How does that work?
No, I'm not doing. I like here. I'm not doing the panel, obviously, because I'm in the public light here. But in other countries, uh, the organization, we try not to do because of liability issues. Too much of the undercover work. It's only as when asked by the host government that they need someone to go in there, an American or European, into those nightclub to collect intel information for them at their request. Um, we'll do it. We're not setting up these private parties, to come over to this house because we don't want to bring up the clause of like entrapment, but sending going in and talking to possible girls in there or their managers or bartender, that law enforcement cops, they know how to do this, or retired guys. We can get the red flags or the basic evidence to take it to the next level for law enforcement to take it to the next level in these countries. And you can see the telltale. You can look at see if the woman looks too young, or you can ask her. You can find out if she's trafficked or she can't will go anywhere. Simple questions, because a lot of them they'll take their travel documents or passports. So let's say you find a girl that says say she's from Colombia, Venezuela, or some country, Honduras, and this location here in Costa Rica at a club, and Muslim's club or a club that and you tell her something. Well, how can you find out without right up asking them? Hey, did they take your documents? No, you say, hey, I'm really sweet, you're really cute, I really like you. You know what? Can you get out of here? For a couple of days, my treat. Um, and they'll say, no, well, yeah, I can go out, but you have to pay the house more money to leave the premises. No, no, no. Like, I want to take you to Mexico or the Dominican Republic. You tell them a country that you got to know countries require visas or not for certain people, for certain countries or not. And you go, yeah, yeah, let's go to Dominican Republic. Yeah, we go to Cancun. I'll take you all expenses, 3 days. No, I can't. No, no, it's okay. I can't. And you go, why? Why can't you? No, I can't. I'll pay for all those days, more than you would make here. And eventually they'll say, no, they have my passports. You can't tell. And so that right there is one of the elements of trafficking. Or by them simply saying that, excuse me, by them simply saying that they can't go with you, that could be a flag that they're being trafficked, they're being held there because their documents are being controlled. So even if they don't right out say it, the fact that they tell you no, they can't, that's an indicator to go to the next level on the investigation. Simple stuff, simple trick like that. We'll go into location to get that type of intel. But it's not that we're knocking down doors, like a SWAT team, and no, no, no. That's the host government. That's their job. That's their responsibility. We'll just provide the intel and assist them in every way we can. But the number one way primarily for us is to build up the law enforcement to get to that level of efficiency, of professionalism, and become experts themselves so they can do it themselves. But certain things they can do. Sometimes you need a looking, form to come in and collect that intel for you.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you only Operation Underground Railroad only works in countries where they're like they want the help.
Um, no, no, no. We'll go out, engage and make contact with the countries, and sometimes we'll start working there. Period, and get them to know us and the good that we can do and what we can bring to the table. But I would say, yeah, most of the time they want us there. They welcome our assistance, especially when we're helping the aftercare, the victims or the survivors after their help. Because we're helping them with some of their experiences, which becoming independent. We help with like medicine, as I mentioned before, or even psychology treatments. We'll help them. Let's say we're still girl and she says, "I want to stay in this country. I don't want to go to your country. I want to learn how to become an office manager in some business. I want to learn how to become certified in Microsoft system, Adobe, Excel, and use all of that. So we'll find like a school, or I want to learn a trade. We'll find a school for that trade and pay the tuition. And then we'll tell them, okay, it's up to you now. You have to show up. You have to pass. You have to take the courses. By them doing that, they're becoming self-reliant. They're learning to become whole again. You're empowering them, and then help them also to find jobs. That's so they don't. The cycle does not continue. What we call break the chain. You know that old adage. You can give a guy a fish, but if you teach him how to fish, instead of giving the fish, you teach him how to fish. He won't go hungry. So basically, that's the philosophy. And if these women can, we sometimes even help them set up businesses. We have some have set up small businesses, small entrepreneurs, and they're become successful. Some continue to go on into the medical field. We've helped them get into it, and then they themselves have gone on and gotten scholarships and move on. We had one girl in Honduras who her dream was just to finish high school, and she was able to finish high school. And she said that her life was born. She was born. Her life began the day she was rescued. She was probably at the time, I think, like 14 years old. She graduated recently, and on her class ring, graduation ring, on her finger, she showed us, took a picture, sent it to us. On the inside of her ring, she put the date, not of graduation, the date that she was rescued. Like you are, and the host country law enforcement. So to have the greatest feeling is when you rescue some of these women. It's happened to me is um, when they come back later after a couple of weeks, they're calm, their brain is settled, they're gotten over the shock, and it's a lot going on, and you're meeting with them, and they come and they give you a hug, and they say, "Thank you, thank you for saving my life, thank you," and um, that's better than $1 million because you just impacted someone's life. So you're blessed. I believe that if you can impact one person's life, you're blessed.
Definitely, definitely. So, yeah, I think that's got to be like the most rewarding part of the whole thing, right? Is afterwards seeing some of these people go from hell to something prosperous and productive. Are there what's the worst countries? What are some of the countries that are like, screw you guys, we don't want you, we're taking care of the problem ourselves or not, and like where it's not even worth dealing with?
Good question. I don't know because I haven't spoken to the other countries or the management about that. I know that here in Central America and in South America, they wanted us. They beg us, come in, and we need more help. We need more assistance. Because not just the resources, the financial that we bring, um, the training, the capacity building. We also help with awareness and education. The biggest threat, like for now, in the exploitation of children or children becoming victims, is the ease of social media, social apps. So you have a lot of predators and people on these social apps talking to kids and enticing them, getting up to a location where they can actually meet and do something with them to help them. So we try to also help out in education on the pearls of monitoring the dangers of social applications and helping local law enforcement develop their capabilities in the cybernetic and internet arena to proactively be out there looking for these predators and helping host countries in legislation, um, updating their legislation to reflect the new times and the new technologies that are out there that where kids become vulnerable to these predators. And then these kids end up being sexually trafficked, sexually used.
Let's go back to your government work. Give me an example of what's the most frightening circumstance you faced? Not necessarily in an undercover role, but in general. And I'll be straight with you on this. We had a very lack of Hispanic agents when I started. Okay, believe it or not, it was a very, all you did was undercover. I mean, with the drug wars with the Cubans and the Colombians, you would get that phone call 10 o'clock at night, go out, you got to be the UC. I mean, a guy from Massachusetts could not go out and buy from drugs from Colombians or go out and do a money pickup. Okay. What I'm asking you is basically what kind of what kind of work, what challenging stuff have you been actually not scared, but you had to pay attention to right away?
Oh my God. The key for me, the most difficult thing was um, the details. The detail, the slightest, smallest thing could give you give you away who you were. And one of the biggest issues to overcome me understanding the Spanish culture for me was um, a lot of the narcotics guys or the Latinos in the Hispanic community that are involved in the illicit trade of narcotics and money laundering are very superstitious. And Toby, you coming also from Miami, you understand a lot would be involved in Santeria, like voodoo magic, Santeria, and all this stuff. And if they met with you and they got a bad vibe, bad feeling, you had to be careful how you dressed, what you spoke, your mannerism, any little thing. They would look at you. If they didn't like your pants, the color of your shirt, right away you would cop or the deal is off. So the key thing for me was making sure that I not didn't trigger something um, on them. I had a case one time, and the uh, the guy started probing me, and there were Mexicans, and and the thing was they were just looking at me and my Puerto Rican accent, right? And here I am, and they're just like had to, I knew what they were thinking. I knew they're like, is this guy a cop? Why is this, And I just have to make sure that the details matter for me. And the biggest thing it was that. And the other thing was, um, I got scared one time. I was doing a deal, and I was meeting with some people in um, it was I believe it was at St. Martin. We were on the Dutch side, and these guys were they were Colombians, and we were picking up major money, and we were able, the Dutch, to get on their phones, and we had an initial meeting, and they were just talking about, you know, what is are these guys for real? It was like the first meet, and we had to make a phone call. We're going to meet with them or not, even though they had doubts, they weren't sure. It was big money. We had the meeting, but I had to make sure that my cover team and myself, I was totally clean. And it's the whole thing is for me, the terror has been working in a foreign country, picking up money. My thing has always been not so much in Syria, but in some of the Latin countries where they allow us to operate, is are the people that are covering me that we try to limit, who knows who I am, are they the ones who are going to give me up? So you always have that and that fear back of your mind. I remember one time, um, when I first got to Panama here, I was not, this is not undercover, give you an idea. My first week here, I got a case, I had to go to the Tulum free zone. I just met these cops. The guys that worked with me knew them. This is the first time I met them. I spent 3 days in Cologne in the free zone. We come back, we end up with $7 million in cash that was being shipped to Cologne. I'm coming back, for example, on a country road, one lane going, one lane coming, climb through hills, back and forth at 1 in the morning with $7 million, 4 vehicles. I'm the only agent. The rest are local cops, and I'm thinking, I just met these guys 3 days ago. My buddies vouch for them, but you have to work. Do I trust these guys? Are we going to get ambushed on this road, dark road? One of these cops, local cops, for this kind of money, put a bullet in them and take the money, call them ahead and have them put an ambush on me. So these are real things that you deal with as an undercover and in the field when you're working, especially in a foreign environment, with stuff like that. Um, my biggest concern was the smallest details, things like when they're prepping the 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 materials for you. Uh, when you're having the undercover meeting, is everything up to date? If you set up in an apartment, is the apartment up to date? Is the food in the refrigerator in the undercover is it good? You can't have anything that's expired. You can't have anything that's if it needs to be clean and you don't have pictures of yourself with family and friends or something in your office and in your undercover office, then it looks fake. It has to look real. The details matter. They pay attention to the details. How you're dressed, your shoes, the jewelry you're wearing. If you're playing a businessman, are your nails fixed? Are your nails done properly, manicured? Are you playing a construction worker? Are your hands in course? And you say, yeah, I've been in construction all my life, but yet you have the hands of a prima donna. Of the details, and a lot of times, not every undercover can do all types of undercover. Like I did not do street corner or construction, undercover, biker. I didn't fit that personality. Mostly stuck to like white collar type money laundering stuff. Well, you have other guys that can do corner street stuff, that can do bikers, that can do. So management needs to know your abilities and where you fit in. You can't force the circle into the square. And sometimes they do, and that's when things go wrong. I don't know if I put more there than your question, totally want to answer, but it somewhat aligns to the details.
Yeah, it comes down to screening. It comes down to screening the right person for the
Yes,
assignment, and especially with
correct.
something like that. I mean, the work I've done as a PI. I'm persona non
Yep.
grata in Venezuela because of the work that was
Yeah, don't
done.
go back. Put you in jail.
What's that? Yeah, they would, and that. We've talked about this, both when you were with the government and since. But yeah, I'm not going to get the welcome wagon if I go back. But at the same time, being a gringo, for call it lesser word, worked to my advantage because when I was down there, until I was told to leave by Ladea, that it worked because I was able to blend in and get things done. But you're right; it has to be around the situation, and you have to pick the right person. I think what you've explained well is once the children and the women are rescued, they go through a process of psychological job placement. I don't think that has been addressed in Sound of Freedom. And I don't think the organization that you work for, people don't realize it is a social service component for these victims. And I thought you did a great job explaining
Correct.
that because the public just knows you rescue and there's a happy ending afterwards. But there is severe psychological trauma to any of these ladies that have been through that. Correct?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, our biggest part of our budget of our but that we spend the biggest chunk, the largest chunk, is for survivor care, helping them after their rescue.
Okay. And let me ask you this, since as far as the individuals that are trafficking them and they're prosecuted in country, what kind of sentences do they get down in Central America and Northern Colombia and stuff like that?
It's it varies. It varies. I mean, these countries are their regulations and everything are based on the United Nations established definition of what is trafficking. And like in Panama, I think it starts at 7 years is the lowest sentence. Each country is a little bit different. Uh, they're stringent. Um, I know Panama is trying to raise it something to like 12, 15 years sentence. Other countries are similar. I don't know the other country specific, but some countries it's very strict. They especially in Latin cultures because overall you know how it is. Kids are everything. Most cultures. I think from the Italians, the Latins. Hey, family is everything. Our children are the most precious things to us. So, I mean, I've seen in Guatemala, where and also in Honduras, some of these countries where they catch somebody with the child. They won't even let the cops get involved. The whole village will come out and torture them alive. They'll do like put the tires around the person, put gasoline, and then lit them up. And God forbid the cops try to step in. They'll lynch the cops.
Yeah, no, that's how it is. You talked about Santeria. For those people that don't know, it's quite a phenomenon. It's a mix of African religion with Catholicism, and we used to have the boats. They would put chicken blood on the customs boats. Remember that? And I actually did a search warrant on a case. One of my who Evelyn Bizon Papa, who I'll be tied to the rest of my life with her arrest and release. One of the principals in there had a Santero altar in West Kendall, and we went in and they had a box for an Uzi machine gun in there, and one of the agents, the guy wasn't going to talk, and when he was face down facing the altar, we asked him, "Donde está pistola?" My Spanish, but he had it in the attic directly above. So you're right. The whole culture is different, and they're going to size you up too. Your accent was different, and how you dress. If you dress with nice shoes, they know that they think that you have money. And then when they go to your office, if you have a generic office with no protocol of family pictures or things like that, then it's going to be suspicious and put you in danger. So, in that, where do you see? I have one more question, and I'll let Jeff go. Where do you see the program? How is it continuing with Operation Underground Railroad? What are the future objectives that you have?
Well, overall, we're moving still in heavily in assisting in the aftercare proactively. I think we're moving, or I've seen, at least here in Panama, trying to move them more to local cops to cybernetic area where we can um, develop units in Panama proactively, looking like we have developed big time in the U.S., working with local governments and federally, proactively searching for CSAM material, which is CSAM is the child exploitation images that people move in the black web or or through certain platforms, encrypted platforms, pornographic material, children. So for me, Panama would be a big push for that because in certain countries, Colombia, Costa Rica and some of Central America, you have still have a lot of sexual tourism, and some of these people come down here for have sex with children sometimes, and they like to take pictures or have a trophy, and then but they'll start and you'll have like local predators looking and through social media enticing kids. So I want to expand that here in Central America, a proactive system where we can assist them with software and training the law enforcement in this matter and adjusting the laws to that so they can prosecute these people online looking for sharing these images and or looking for kids online to get them to meet somewhere. They need more of that because as technology evolves, things evolve. The police have to keep up, and they don't. Sometimes they don't have the resources like sometimes we do in the states um, to do this and keep it up. And the reason we had to do it with them is because this is something that we as a private entity can't do. It has to be authorized law enforcement that can do this and have possession of these images. I mean, if we were to do that, contractor that I would hire to help me, I mean, they would end up in jail just for the mere possession of an image or recruiting or someone sending them an image. And it has to be law enforcement. But we can help them in the software, in the technology. How do you approach? How do you speak online? How do you cover your IP addresses? How do you set up fake profiles to proactively be out there looking for these online predators?
I just have to tell you, you had the fastest retirement I've ever seen. I was talking to you, and then let's see, you left on a Friday and you started the new job on a Monday. That's
Yeah, it's quick.
that's legendary. It's not quick. It's legendary to do something like that. We've had some guests that have retired in like 2 weeks and that, but 2 days, that's a record, my friend. I look forward to seeing you soon, and best. And what a view you have down there. It's amazing.
Hey man, both of you come on down to Castro. You gotta patch your caution and come enjoy Miami Light as I call it.
Miami Light, I like that.
Sign me up. Thanks a lot, Ruben. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ruben. Bye.
Take care, guys.
See ya.